Don't you think... Actually, no, hang on. Raf.
James?
Don't you think that a ergonomic chair just changes everything?
Oh, absolutely.
I only say that because just as we hit record on this podcast, I decided I'm going to stop. I'm going to replace the chair I was sitting on, which had the real vibe of Officeworks $49 special.
It has a vibe of like buy and buy the 200.
Yep. And I was like, no, I'm going to get the Aeron.
You could probably check the state of kind of VC by the price of Aerons, really, and the price of secondhand Aerons on Facebook Marketplace. I bet maybe there's some kind of algorithm that the big VC firms are running related to the price of Aerons.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Or that's an input.
Economic indicator.
Yeah.
Is the price of secondhand Aerons on Facebook Marketplace.
Because obviously if the price is plummeting, that means that you got some startups are liquidating.
Exactly. And I'm sitting in one now. I just want to say that because I made that choice, my insights are going to be 35% better.
Q&A episode, which are very easy for us because, it means the content is made.
They're always fun. It's been a while since we've done one.
Also, I will say, as I said on X, either Twitter's washed or we're washed, because back in the day, we could say on Twitter, and by back in the day, I mean like 18 months ago, hey, any questions for the Down Round lads? And there'd be many, many responses. And
a dozen. Now there's nothing. It's a desert.
It's a desert. There's a couple of bullshit responses and that's it.
And
so I don't know which one is washed. I can't say for certain.
I would say
on the back end, we have obviously like privileged access to our analytics, much like they do at Twitter with their own analytics.
Yep.
But ours suggest positive growth.
Our listener numbers are growing and have grown since 18 months ago. So I think that Elon Musk, you have a lot to answer for. We used to get beautiful questions on there. So many of these are from our Discord, which are premium subscribers. I guess there are a couple from X, but they were all said in jest. I don't want to indulge that. Although, you know what, I will launch with one which was sent to our X from user Matt Cowgill. Have you considered getting Raf a microphone rather than just having his voice ambiently picked up by James's mic? I think this might be a critique of how I edited last week's episode.
Yeah, because the editing kind of changes from week to week. You may or may not have picked up. I guess a keen listener would have picked up. If the intro music is insanely loud, that's probably on me.
Yep.
If I'm insanely quiet, that's probably on James.
Yeah, exactly. So that's it. If the intro music is so loud that it damages your eardrums or blows out your speakers, causes you physical pain while you're listening to it on your morning jog, that's a Raf problem. And if Raf is so inaudible that the only insights you can glean are from me, that's from me.
And our friggin' intro music sounds like elevator music background noise, music as wallpaper type stuff.
Yep.
That's you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Intro music is to be pumped.
Needs to be pumped. Exactly.
So I'll leave it up to you, listener, who edited this episode.
Yeah, okay. Shocker. So many of these are from the Discord, but there's some great questions, and also they cover a few things we wanted to talk about anyway. So amazing vessel for this week. The first question I'm actually going to use as an excuse to talk about something that happened mere minutes after we published last week's episode.
Yep.
The same day. This is from J-Dog in the Discord. Now, J-Dog had an extremely long run-up, which I assume he found amusing. I'm going to skip all that. Sorry, J-Dog. We read out your last one in our last Q&A episode. Very funny stuff. But it does end on... Well, there's two questions. One from J-Dog and one from someone else that speak to this. But J-Dog's one was... What do you two think of Jony Ive? He seems like a total kook to me. And then a question from Spirit, someone else in the Discord. Do you think there is a realistic chance that a not dominant today company comes up with AI hardware that can actually seriously threaten the existing players, meaning Google and Apple? Is there a chance for Jony Ive and OpenAI? So the story is obviously talking about what was announced last week, OpenAI has purchased Jony Ive, former head of design at Apple.
The iPod and iPhone guy.
iPod, iPhone, MacBook, Apple Watch guy. They bought his startup IO for $6.5 billion, all stock deal. And they did a very self-aggrandizing video. And
Yes.
the photo.
The photo was particularly
The photo
weird.
was strange. It was Sam Altman and Jony Ive sort of...
I mean, a wedding portrait's the wrong way to
It was a
describe
save the date picture.
But from the 1990s,
Yeah.
kind of save the date. It was black and white.
It was black and white, yeah.
Them kind of arm in arm. Okay, well, a lot to unpack, and we could probably go an entire episode talking about this and like the history of Jony Ive. Jony Ive is obviously a legend. You know, the iPod and the iPhone, got to hand it to him.
They were pretty good. I mean, like, regardless of what you think about this guy's design, he basically laid out the design language of the last 20 to 30 years of technology. He defined what it means for, like, hundreds of millions, if not billions of people as to, like, this is what good design is.
This is what the interface... Yeah, exactly.
This is it.
I mean, this is certainly not an original take. Many people have said this before. One of the key criticisms of Jony Ive was that once Steve Jobs died...
He disappeared up his own ass.
Yeah, and that's when we had MacBooks with only one port.
MacBooks were only one port. Keyboards.
Keyboards were,
insanely thin MacBooks with, like, non-functional keyboards.
Yeah, and refusing to compromise on form over. Basically, form took over from function.
Insane, yeah, like to an insane degree. Which you know has obviously always been a criticism that's leveled at Apple generally.
Yeah, but like the theory goes that Steve Jobs was the ultimate editor because at the end of the day, he had like a product background, and so he was the ultimate editor to Jony Ive. Tim Cook was not that editor. Jony Ive was allowed to kind of run wild, and they literally backtracked on a lot of the decisions he made. Like, they got rid of the HDMI port, they got rid of the SD card reader. You know, they got rid of all of these ports, which they then brought back, and on the Mac Pros as well, MacBook Pros, which they then brought back once he'd left to found his own design agency, Love From, which, as we discussed before, immediately contracted back to Apple for like $100 million a year.
And I don't think they did anything. I think the reporting seems to suggest that, like, they had some big deal, but actually Jony Ive and his guys did not really contribute to any Apple products.
Other than just apparently just constantly recruiting from Apple, like all of the talent out of Apple back to them.
They did a bunch of novelty stuff, like a few designs. Like, they did the invites to the royal coronation.
Very nice.
Or the royal wedding. The jacket for someone.
Yeah, for Montclair, the Montclair jacket.
Yeah, so they did a few, like, novelty things.
Anyway, Jony Ive, that's what he's been doing. He now has started this new company, IO, that OpenAI took first a small percentage in that's, you know, making the new iPhone, but it's AI.
Yeah, so it comes back to what we've talked about a few times on Down Around, which is people are trying to find the smartphone successor. They're trying to find what is the AI hardware. And OpenAI, and I do think this is part of the calculation. They are like, we don't have Apple's hardware division. We don't have even Meta's hardware division. We don't have their distribution. We don't have their deals. They are starting from scratch to read. Sam Altman's talking about he wants to build a device, which they haven't described what it is, but they want to be selling hundreds of millions of them within a few years.
Yeah.
That's so fucking hard to do.
Of course.
Like, you got to strike deals with manufacturers, you have to work out distribution, you have to do all this sort of stuff. Say what you will about Apple and being behind the curve on this stuff. At least there's something you can tell Apple can do. They can build a device, make it very good, and then scale it and sell hundreds of millions of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're probably going to talk more at length about Apple there's a question coming up about, like, Apple, I think. But basically, yes. So anyway, OpenAI making a device, Jony Ive. The question is Jony Ive a kook or not? And I guess, you know, it comes down to this question. I personally think he feels a little bit past it.
I think he's past it. And it's like,
credit where credit's due.
He's done great stuff. And this comes about what I was just trying to say, actually, which is that OpenAI have tried to essentially buy a huge amount of credibility because automatically everyone's going to be like, oh, then he's the guy that designed the iPhone.
Yeah.
So he should be the guy to design the successors for the iPhone.
Yeah, and he also has been saying, like, he kind of feels bad about the iPhone.
Yeah, because people look at it all day. Well, but newsflash, brother, you put a big fucking screen on it.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it, brother.
You put a gigantic rectangle with content on it, and now you're acting sad that people look at it all day. Mate, this thing you built is it's killer.
What do you mean you're trying to make a new device?
I'll be clear on the kook stuff, Jony Ive. I'm sure whatever OpenAI eventually put out will be beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll look nice. It'll be thin. It'll be minimal, and everyone will look at that and go, "That's it. That's the one."
Well, I mean, because people were thinking this with the humane AI pin, right? They were like, it feels like this could be humane AI pin 2, right? Because it's ex-Apple people doing a full design. We speak to people and we understand how people want to interact. Doing one of them, but more money. And maybe that's good. Maybe that means it'll work. Who knows? But I mean, at a certain point, he's getting further and further and further away from the actual design, and he is just like any executive, a manager who's hiring people, and it's more about like placing trust in the people below you. And don't get me wrong, again, as I said, apparently he's got
to kill it.
He's pulled like Apple's 200 best people from Apple to him, which is like manager mode.
They probably have a great shot. I have serious doubts that Jony Ive is in any way connected with how any normal person uses
anything.
A device. Connects to the world and the sort of things they need from it.
Yeah.
Again, this comes back to what he was doing with Apple products the end of his tenure, where his motivation seemed to be some weird abstract ideal of how thin a computer could get.
Yeah.
And then he didn't realize that he wasn't even thinking about people that need to like make spreadsheets on them.
Yeah, as we've said before, like Tim Cook saying that he only uses an iPad. He doesn't understand why people...
He just reads emails and makes decisions.
Exactly. It's like, okay, what are you doing anymore? So yes, is Jony Ive a kook? How can you not be a kook when you probably have billions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions, in this case, definitely billions, because they just bought it for like, what was it?
$6.5 billion.
$6.5 billion, a company that doesn't have a product.
Yeah. Just to underscore, this is a company that is entirely built up of some, quote unquote, and you can hear me say this, smart, great designers who have been sitting around for a year maybe, drawing pictures and going, wouldn't this be sick? And they've been paid $6.5 billion for that.
Yeah.
There's some history there, so I appreciate it. But at the end of the day, they have no products.
Yeah.
There's been some reporting suggesting that it's going to be...
I've heard a few things.
There's
a puck in the pocket.
Some sort of puck that you can be in your pocket. It's not going to be a pin. It doesn't attach to your clothes. It's something that you can like lay on your desk. So I'm going to assume some sort of voice interaction. And they don't want it to replace the smartphone, which I think is kind of bullshit. But it's like a new device. You got your laptop, you got your smartphone, it's your third thing.
Yeah, like a phone didn't replace the laptop. It was another thing.
Yeah,
so here's another thing.
There's another. You see, he's getting back into dongle mindset. You just want to carry around shit. There's no problem. Of course, you're going to want a USB-C to fucking headphone dongle. This was one of his great.
That was the most insane period.
One of the worst calls in history.
Yeah, like every agency you walk into, everyone just had fucking 3 dongles hanging off their fucking machine
because of this fucking genius. Anyway, that's what's going on with the design OpenAI. And look, power to them if they can build a device. And the idea is apparently they want to do it in like the next couple of years. So they want to get it out of the door.
Yeah. As you said, it's like they wanted 600 million devices sold by the end of 2026 or some shit like that.
Yeah. And we'll see. Obviously, all efforts in this space have failed to date. The Rabbit, the Humane Pin. I guess those are the 2 big ones, but I assume there are other ones around. The Vision Pro was not this, but it was an attempt to be a new
platform,
a new platform, a new category. I don't know.
He's detached. That's what I was getting to with the money. Like once you have that much money and you're so far away from the tools, then of course you're going to be a kook. And why should you not?
Exactly right. Okay. Next question from Pepsi. I want a product that handles all my life admin. Budgets, appointments, calendars, etc. Why doesn't this exist?
It does exist.
It does exist, mate. It's Microsoft Teams.
It's called Microsoft Teams, exactly. Go get yourself an Office 365 subscription, buddy.
I think the question you're really asking is that what you want is a little bit of order and system in your life that maybe it's lacking at the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you, Pepsi, no software is going to solve that for you. You need to pull your finger out and install a bit of that order yourself.
But also a little secret, no one feels in control. Like, this was Freud's original conception of the phallus. I know people think it means dick, but he was really just using that as a metaphor. He was like, oh, women see these men walking around with their chests out and think like, I don't feel like how confident and how whole that man looks. It must be because I'm lacking a penis. But in fact, the concept is like, looking at the other and thinking that person seems so whole, I'm without something that they have. This idea of control and order of your life and, it being managed. I mean, the fact that you're already hoping for it to be outsourced to some kind of other, some third-party other, shows a kind of, I guess, spiritual
yearning.
Yeah, yearning, and I guess I respect that to a certain extent, but also understand that no one is in control of any. No one is like, I'm fully in control of the things that are happening around me. Yep. I know exactly what's going to happen
100%.
Tomorrow and the next 4 weeks. That is the phallus. That idea of like that you see in the ads of like being a friggin' ultimate productivity machine with no inefficiencies or whatever.
Yep.
Doesn't exist.
You're chasing an unattainable ideal.
Yeah.
You don't want a device to do all that. What do you want is to liberate yourself from obligation.
Absolutely.
And you know what? I respect you. If you want to live off the grid, you want to get away from that, the best way to get to order all your appointments in your mind is to have none of them.
Exactly.
Imagine, if you will, a completely empty calendar. That's what you really want, mate.
That's what you want. You want no calendar, mate. It's called nirvana.
Exactly. Get yourself off the wheel. Bodhisattva. I think that's the term. Alrighty. Actually, you know what? We might loop back very briefly because I missed this question. But from Jacob Taylor, this comes back to the Jony Ive question, which is where do you see Apple going post Tim Cook?
Yeah, this is a good question.
This is actually a good question because Bloomberg's done some reporting on like what is their succession plan, and there's a bunch of people that it could be. And the number one candidate that at least Bloomberg thinks is happening, Mark Gurman, lead contender is like their current head of hardware.
John Turnus.
Yeah. Who is, and they've put him in a lot more of their videos over the past
Well, I mean,
while.
this makes sense. Like, okay, think of all of the criticism of Apple over the last year, I suppose. One thing that you can't criticize at all is like the hardware, right? And we say it every time. We're like, but goddamn, like, how good are the devices? Like, how good are the chips?
I suspect that whoever they pick for their next CEO once Tim Cook steps down, which could be, could be 5 years, could be 10, who knows? I think it'll probably be sooner than 10.
I think he said that he doesn't expect to be there by 2030.
Yeah. The next person I think will be a product brain. I think that'll they're going to want to put someone up who is not a operations guy. They're going to want to try to have like an inspirational product brain.
Yeah, because that's been the key failing, I guess, over the last at least 12 months. But obviously, it starts years ago. In particular, we're talking about with the AI stuff.
Yeah,
and to a certain extent, what's going to happen with Vision Pro, and I guess you can bundle things like the Apple Car and stuff in there. Like products that just aren't working.
Yeah, totally. Like they're going to want someone who is like, we need to build our next growth engine rather than extracting as much value as possible from what was built before.
Yeah, look, if Apple lose the Google deal, at the moment, I know that there's like court cases for stays and injunctions and this kind of thing, and they lose a little bit of control over the App Store, that could actually push Cook out. That is a big enough hit because that will hit them hard.
It'll hit them hard, and it's like the only thing that Tim Cook has to hold on to as a product that he personally spearheaded and hit market is the Vision Pro.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but more broadly, what he has is the stock market and the pivot to being a services business. And if you remove 50% of services revenue, then that entire growth story is gone.
They need a new product. And this is the reason why we talked about this the other week, but why like Berkshire Hathaway and Warren Buffett loved Apple so much is that Tim Cook was one of the great and most disciplined capital managers in American corporate history. He was returning capital to shareholders. He had built this it basically built the Coca-Cola of technology, just like reliable, predictable returns.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if something swerves out of the left field, like OpenAI building a device or, whatever, Google owning AI, that stuff falls apart pretty quickly, especially when you've also got antitrust thing coming out. So I think that they will probably pick like a someone that they perceive as like a visionary product mind that can like lead that and be a new Steve Jobs or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, because like what you could see, obviously, like Microsoft, we've talked about this before, like the Steve Ballmer era after the Bill Gates era, and he was seen as a bit of a kind of MBA financialist to a certain extent. I mean, he also made a bunch of acquisitions and moves that were in the product space, but the pivot that Satya Nadella made, as we've discussed before, was refocusing the company from Windows to cloud and making Windows, like bringing Windows back to genuinely being a platform that wasn't like constrained to like, the features weren't constrained to just using the Windows operating system. It was completely cross-platform. All of their products worked really, and services worked really well on iPhones, on Androids, on whatever. Like it was take the focus away from Windows, move it to the cloud. It was a 365. It was like Azure Online. It was a cloud platform company. I can see Apple kind of doing, like right now, one of the key issues I think, especially in AI, is like their philosophy right now is that they will build the AI themselves. On-device image generation, using Apple's AI. Yes, they have the OpenAI integration, but it's like really tightly locked, and it's basically just Siri occasionally doing a ChatGPT chat, really, and then returning the result from like a chat with OpenAI. It's not allowing integration. I can see there potentially being a pivot where you go like towards the platform thing. Like we are, as I've said before, I kind of called for it. Like we are a platform. You can see a new CEO. This is like the kind of thing a CEO can do. Be like, we're not the lockdown platform. We're probably a bit more of a hardware OS integrated device platform. We can still take our cut of things, but if Claude wants to access, your calendars and your emails or whatever, we'll allow it. If like whatever third party wants to access more of the device, they can. And so like ceding some control and ceding that experience, you could see that being like a big strategic pivot that Apple could potentially make under a new CEO.
Yep. No, I agree. Wonderful. There you go. That's enough Apple questions. I think we've dealt with the future of that company. And you can make up your mind whether you want to Warren Buffett it and exit.
I exited it.
Well, good on you, mate. I've got a couple of questions. These have actually come from, well, there's two questions that have come from the same guy, Michael, on X.
Okay, the Everything app.
And he said, can we get an update on Atlassian? It seems every company is trying to make an internal AI search app for enterprise. And then he also asked, I realize this is not two not very interesting questions. Here's another one. Immutable, what's up with them? You ever played any games on the blockchain lately? I know I haven't. Well, he's asked about two great Australian companies.
We also have privileged information about both of them we can't talk about, I think. I mean, I don't know if you still, well, you do, whatever. What's up with Atlassian? I mean, Atlassian is trying to move everyone to the cloud, tightening. We said this I feel like I said this on the Atlassian episode. They were also in much the same way Canva are, but Canva in the lead up to an IPO. In this case, Atlassian, just for discipline, they brought in an ex-Facebook guy as CFO. Apparently, it changed the culture somewhat. They got rid of a bunch of the kind of happy-go-lucky stuff. That said, like I mentioned on the Canva episode a few weeks ago, how like when I was last in Canva on a Friday, no one was drinking. I guess update, have been back since, and there were a few people drinking. But the opposite was true of Atlassian. At lunchtime, when we were at Canva though, it was the evening. It was past 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
At Atlassian, I went for lunch. I don't know, this a couple of months ago, I went for lunch, and they were
on it.
There were a few folks on it, including a couple of gentlemen by themselves having some beers.
Having some beers at lunchtime.
At lunchtime,
and Fuck. Is that bullish or bearish? I have no idea.
I don't mind it.
I like it. I just don't know what it says about the company's stock price.
Well, so, okay, a few other, if you want, this is like a few other social things. An anonymous Atlassian employee that I was speaking to also said that very regularly when you enter the Atlassian bathrooms, you'll hear from the closed stalls just content in Chinese just absolutely pumping through the bathroom.
Okay, that's interesting. I don't know if that says anything in isolation, but I get the vibe it's projecting.
I mean, what's up with Atlassian? I mean, without doing the entire episode, like they have significant lock-in. I know that there are like a bunch of startups that people like Dan Nolan froth over or whatever that are, your things, but like you're not disrupting
No, I mean, yeah, I think Atlassian have pretty clearly fought off a lot of like the Jira challenges that have popped up. Like they have, and we talked about this model where it's sort of like being an Atlassian expert is like a priesthood. Being an
evangelist.
a Jira Scrum Master is like a career you can follow. And Monday.com has not eaten away at that. And obviously, you know, there are lots of startups who run all their project management shit through Notion or whatever. And I'm sure there are plenty that do that. But I think that Jira are pretty solid. And obviously the AI challenge is pretty real. Atlassian at their last keynote, they announced that they were releasing their AI assistant for free to everyone that had a Atlassian subscription. So they're obviously trying, like, they feel the risk.
Yeah.
But it's like, I feel like they are not bad. Also, they're building that gigantic headquarters over Central Station here.
But that's been happening for...
No, it has. But it's you know, again, I think we've made this point before where it's like a company where you can work fully remote if you want.
Yeah.
Building a giant tower in the middle of Sydney. Interesting.
Yeah. What's up with them, though? Yeah, I mean, the AI world, I don't know. At the end of the day, AI is not going to replace friggin' like task assignments and whatnot.
No, I mean, I have heard the thesis where it's kind of like if you employ less software designers or a lot more software work is autonomous or...
They don't need the seats.
They don't need as much... product the seats, yeah, the seats, or like as much of like the knowledge base project management's craft that Atlassian manages. So I hear that story, but I don't know. I feel like they've got a decent runway before that happens.
Yeah,
would be my take.
Yeah,
Immutable, on the other hand, your question: when was the last time you played a blockchain game? Well, for me, that's never.
Yeah, no, I mean, Immutable, okay, we should say what? They both create the piping, the infrastructure for blockchain games.
Yeah.
They have their own token and also have a bunch of games.
Their own, yeah. And to my understanding these days, they build a lot less. Like their game development division is way smaller. Also, the AFR reported this week that Immutable has lost like a third of its staff over the past 12 months. I believe they had a massive cash runway because they exploded during COVID and everyone thought during the crypto moment. I know the founders are posting some crazy stuff on Twitter. Some real like
I've heard some stuff about the founders.
Sure. I
don't know how those things are still a going concern. There's just no revenue.
There's nothing going on there. Every time, you know, every now and again, because I follow them on X. I look at their stuff, and they're always like, check out this new crazy Web3 game. And I look at the trailer or something, and I'm like, I've never seen this anywhere. Again, it comes back to the thing of like, I don't think Web3 gaming is happening.
No,
let's be clear. The entire fundamental thing, which they pitched during the crypto boom, which was like, you know how on Fortnite, you don't actually own that Darth Vader skin you bought. Nobody cares.
No,
absolutely nobody cares that you don't own that and can't trade it on the free market.
No, also
complete bullshit.
No one gives a fuck about that. It doesn't make it better. Also, think about it. This idea that's like, you know how you like playing games because it's a way for you to dissociate from
life, and revenue generation, and you know,
yeah, like. Imagine if you got paid to play games. Like, is that any different to literally getting like that spam SMS, which is like make $125 an hour working from home, like reply to this SMS or whatever? Obviously, it's stupid, but not only it's stupid, but it ruins the dynamics of the game. We've seen this with Twitter. As soon as they're like get paid to post, the entire thing is completely
became bad. I think that absolutely that should be a reminder of like the perverse incentives and economics of what happens when something that is leisurely and recreational suddenly has
you get paid to do it.
Cutthroat exchange economy thrust into it.
Yeah.
It becomes awful.
It becomes completely fucked. I don't want to talk to the people who are trying to earn like a micro percentage or play with them. Like, I don't want to play a game. I'm not playing games to earn 15 cents.
Well, think about this. Everyone knows that if you play like an online video game and you get thrust into a lobby or a game with a bunch of people who are, you know, quote unquote sweaty, like the people who don't consider it fun, they consider it like an exercise in extracting maximum The people who are not playing for fun, they're doing it because they're ultra competitive. They don't care about you having a good time. They just want to pop your head from 9 kilometers across the map.
That sounds fun.
No,
they want their rank to go up.
They want their rank to go up. They want to be performant. They want exactly. And you're like, I'm just doing it because I hate my job, I hate my life, I hate my family, and I want a brief escape from that.
Yeah.
That's bad. It's a complete misalignment of incentives. Now imagine that first guy also had the opportunity to win $5 from winning that game.
Yeah.
In the same way.
But it's for winning that game. It's like for grinding away to kind of create some kind of...
To get an object that you then later sell on the market.
Exactly.
It's fundamentally wrong. And like that whole Web3 gaming thing, at some point they all got the message and they were like, oh, fuck. Actually, we need to make good, fun experiences that people want to play no matter what. And then we'll put the economics on top. Again, in the RuneScape or whatever, or WoW, this happened naturally. People play WoW because they liked it, and then an economy of trade appeared on top. But the thing is, all these companies, and this should have been a lesson from day dot, when RuneScape or World of Warcraft would have come up, these companies did everything they could to clamp down on these black markets as much as possible, because they realized normal people experience that and go, what the fuck? Why is this like walking through Paddy's markets?
Totally.
Anyway,
so
that's my take on
Immutable. I don't know how.
It's a complete parallel universe. You look at their website, all the stuff they're announcing. The fucking dickhead token that comes up. You're like, none of this is real. No one cares about this except people that have been in this world for 5 years.
Yeah. What's your revenue? And like even then, I assume a bunch of their revenue would probably be based off licensing their software to other companies. What's their revenue, et cetera, et cetera. It's crypto,
blah, blah, blah.
Without even the less of the speculative asset. More they literally have to have a use case.
Yep.
Anyway, good for them. I'm sure there's some very smart people working there.
Absolutely. If you work at Immutable, good on you.
Yeah, you can hit us up.
Good on you.
Tell us where we're wrong. Happy to be corrected.
All right, we're going to do one more, and then we're going to chuck the rest of this Q&A behind the paywall. There'll be wonderful questions after that. Someone has asked a wonderful question here, which is...
Who's someone?
Do not fucking interrogate me. Now, this is from Fire a Rocket at a Rocket.
Yep.
Classic. A big Discord poster.
Yeah.
Please rank the Magnificent 7 by aura/swag.
Okay, Mag 7.
So the Mag 7, for those that aren't aware, these are, obviously the engines of US stock market growth over the past however many years. So it denotes Alphabet, Amazon, Apple, Meta, and Microsoft, the big five, plus NVIDIA and Tesla.
This AI summary I have has included Broadcom.
Okay, well, I don't... Oh, yeah. Actually, you're right.
That's 8, though.
That's crazy. Investopedia claims Broadcom is one of them? No, I've always seen it as Apple, Microsoft.
Plus Tesla. Yeah, okay. Well, they're reckoning Broadcom is one of them and then Tesla.
Okay, well, Investopedia, I dispute that. I really dispute that. So, well, Broadcom would be 7 if it was included.
Very little swag. Most people would not be able to tell you the difference between Qualcomm and Broadcom.
I agree. So
sorry, we're listing by swag?
By swag or aura.
Or aura. Maybe we should start down the bottom. Typically, you go last upwards, right? And then you announce your number one. But bear in mind, we're coming up with this on the fly.
Yep.
Remove Broadcom from this.
I'm not even thinking about Broadcom. At the very bottom, right now, I actually think Tesla does not have swag.
No.
Tesla's been, and this is what we're talking about. I'm being objective here. You may like your Tesla. I think Tesla cars are perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, at the moment, they are at the bottom of the swagometer due to their association with certain political currents that have caused a consumer backlash.
Yes.
If you're in the middle of a consumer backlash, that removes your aura.
Well, yeah, and when your company is going backwards with regards to revenue, that does remove a little bit of aura. That said, robo-taxis in a month?
Yep. I think
robo-taxis going live in a month.
If the robo-taxis come up and they work, we are happy to move Tesla back up the swagometer. Back at that, they will have aura, but right now, I think objectively they do have negative.
Don't get me wrong.
If people are just burning your products in protest,
like, don't get me wrong. If within a year, Optimus, if everyone has humanoid robots, if I see him walking down the street, I'll be like,
we will eat crow happily. But right now, people are burning them in the street. They're getting bumper stickers saying that they didn't know the car was so cringe before they bought it.
Yeah, there are Teslas in Summer Hill, as I said, with gaffer tape over the T.
Again, we're just looking at this as consumer advocates.
Yeah, obviously, as you guys know, we're huge Elon fans, but there is no swag or aura around Tesla.
No swag or aura. After that, I'm going to say Amazon.
Yeah, there's very little swag.
There's very little swag around Amazon. You look at the Amazon homepage now, it's full of like cheap crap that's been distributed through there. You know, they used to have like, they had some consumer gadgets like Alexa, Kindle that had a bit of swag. They haven't put out something like that in a while.
No, I mean, but basically since Jeff Mentos is gone, it's lost aura. Let's be frank. It's lost aura since he left. They haven't done anything really interesting. Obviously, they've still got all the workers' complaints and shit around. I mean, the Anthropic collab is kind of interesting. But even then, like all of like the more recent AI startups use Google Cloud nowadays.
Yeah, exactly.
Like even the AWS stuff, and never, whatever, AWS is killer.
AWS is killer. That's their one saving grace. But I don't think anything else they've done has been very cool at all.
Yeah.
Like they're kind of becoming a boring platform play, but without any sort of...
They got scared by Temu and then started their own Temu.
They de-swagged themselves.
Yeah, and so I agree with that. That's got to be way down.
So then I'm going to then say Meta.
Yeah, I mean, only lately. If you'd asked me 6 months ago even, 6, maybe 8 months ago, I would have put Meta right up there. But...
I think their single saving grace is the Ray-Ban glasses.
But also the fact that they're making heaps of money off AI and will probably continue to make AI. They're one of the companies that actually have fully productized it.
I think they're dragged down by the fact that all their platforms are extremely cringe now.
Shit and getting worse.
Very bad.
I was kind of thinking about this, this was a real fucking normie kind of genius take where I was like, obviously, the meta platforms do suck, and it's just, you hear Mark Zuckerberg talk, and he now talks openly about the thing that we've been talking about for 2 years with AI. That's the future of ads is just say sell my product, and then it creates all the content, and everything's AI generated. I look at VO3 and obviously Google product, but and how good it looks and whatnot, and it seems so obvious. This future of ads is, and the future of content is this friggin' absolute dog shit AI stuff that is fully personalized. And I was like, what we need is an app that's an Instagram or social media thing, but you can only use the camera within the app so that you know that it's real. And there's even a little QR code that's stamped onto each of the images that's taken. And if you scan the QR code, it'll take you back to the original to prove that it's real. And I was like, that's fucking, why am I thinking that? but that's where we're at. Yeah. So I agree. The platforms themselves suck, but man, they make a lot of money.
They do make a lot of money. Exactly. Big pimpin'. We respect the enormous revenue they generate, but that's what puts them higher than some of the other ones on the list. But and also all the unsavory stuff. They're still shaking off the Cambridge Analytica scandal.
That's true.
Extremely anti-aura. What happened there?
I don't know. Right. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's so hard because now we're getting into the actual it's almost like we're giving credit to, because we've just been shitting on Apple for a while, but their products are quite beautiful,
and they do still. So what have we got?
We've got Apple, Microsoft, Google, and Nvidia.
Okay.
So I think Microsoft.
Okay, I think Microsoft does not have aura. Let's be clear. I think they're a performant business.
Yeah, but they're an enterprise. I mean, Teams, as we know, is insane software. It's so good. It is absolutely goated.
Teams is goated. But I would put to you that the Teams does not really have aura. I don't think anything Microsoft puts out has aura. Every now and again, they've been the Microsoft Surface. It's got a bit of aura about it.
Well, I mean, case in point, what's happened to the Microsoft flagship store in Sydney.
The Microsoft flag. Well,
And this relates to another question.
this actually relates to a question that we're going to address in the second half of the episode. So you're going to find out exactly why they've lost a bit of aura if you pay for a premium subscription and find out. Or you could walk down to Pitt Street and find out for yourself. But I think it'll be cheaper for you. Return Metro ticket.
Yeah,
That's going to get over $10. So.
Yeah, you should may as well sign up. But look, don't get me wrong. I think Microsoft execution has been good. I think they've lost some aura due to, I guess, the slow. I wouldn't say breaking up, but like the OpenAI deal. Well, since the OpenAI palaver,
they've kind of lost
taken
it.
some sheen off Satya Nadella's like ruthless execution.
It seemed like for a moment they had made an unbelievable bet on the future of technology and had won. And obviously that's still true, but to a certain extent. But also now they've freaked out and they've retreated back to being an everything Azure platform for everything that's going on in AI.
And slightly moved back with data platforms. But yeah, like they don't have. I think that it's a very good company, and
it's good.
It does a lot. But like some of the aura is lost. Apple, like a lot of the aura is lost. I've got to put Apple next.
Apple's third. They've if a few years ago you would say. Like 5 years ago, you'd probably put them at one. In the sense that,
like 2 years ago. Oh, wow. Maybe it's slightly
luxury brand. It's the only company out of any of these that the average person would think was cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
that and Tesla probably.
Yeah,
are the two brands that your average person doesn't care about technology would be like, I think Tesla's really cool. I'd love a Tesla.
Yeah,
I only use iPhone.
iPhones are sick. They look great. I want the new one. Yes, but it is a shame that. Because of lack of foresight, maybe getting too comfortable, lack of focus on product, as we talked about Apple ad nauseum. You know the reasons. They're lagging. They're lagging behind literally, everyone else on this, basically Google, Amazon, Meta, and Microsoft and obviously Nvidia with regards to AI, and Tesla with regards to AI, like for fuck's sake, and Broadcom.
They're showing weakness, and there's nothing.
Actually, not Broadcom. Like Apple's chips are very, very, very good.
They are. But they've shown weakness.
They're showing weakness, and it's taken some.
Nobody likes to see anyone show weakness.
But they could easily be back at number one in like 2 years.
They could be. They'd have to. If they release a lovely device, again, it's a race. If Tesla can rocket up 7 spots if they release a humanoid robot, a guy in your house. So that leaves us with where do you?
I think we got to go Google as number 2, and that's only because in the last kind of couple of months, it does seem like the consensus is at least their AI shit is the best.
Yeah.
Their potential is greatest in the current paradigm. And also I did some work for them. I'm about to do some more work for them.
Yeah, well, I was about to disagree and actually put Google first on that basis, but I actually will agree with you on the basis that all this other stuff we've been talking about, NVIDIA is saying it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
What anybody does or what other movements happen on the swag list, you're going to be paying us.
Yeah. I mean,
make it happen. That's difficult to get past.
Also, like, it's very hard to get past. I know that it looked like the top, and it may well have been the top, but like no one is asking Sundar Pichai to sign their breast.
No, that only happens with Jensen Huang. Have you seen him in that leather jacket? That guy is pimped up.
I mean, it is what it is. The guy is out there doing they're making announcements every month. He's in Taiwan and now he's in Saudi Arabia and he's a man about the world. It's very hard, as we've said for years, it's very hard to see NVIDIA not winning in any circumstance. As far as the swagometer is concerned, yes, the guy is a pimp. His smoke too tough, his swag too different.
His bitch too bad. They'll kill him. They will kill Jensen Huang. So that's your ranking. I hope that took a while for us to get through, but I think that was pretty good.
I think that's pretty good.
I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah. 1, NVIDIA, 2, Google, 3, Apple, 4, Microsoft, 5, Amazon, 6, Meta.
No, it was 5.
I think it's 5 Meta, 6 Amazon,
7 Tesla.
7 Tesla.
That's the current swag rating. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, I know some people are going to disagree on in particular the Google,
Please.
But look at their VO3 and shit. It's pumping.
They're doing well. All right, folks. That brings us to the end of our first episode. We have some more questions.
Can you give them some highlights of the questions we'll answer? That's a perfect hook. Because someone, I don't know, what's one of the topics?
There are actually big questions that come after the break. Number 1, thoughts on Labubu.
There could be big Labubu heads.
There could be huge Labubu heads. But then we had the current...
And that's not Lalabo, it's Labubu.
the future of education in the age of LLMs.
What some educators for sure. Shout outs to the educators.
Shout out to the educators. What the hell is happening with AGI? Does it even mean anything these days?
We're going to have some AGI heads. Absolutely.
Absolutely. What has happened to all those companies that raise an insane amount of money during the tech boom, the ZERP tech boom? How are they going today? What year will we all be subjects of Emperor Xi?
Okay, interesting.
That's an interesting question. Sure. I could probably answer. I couldn't really. I'm not sure. We'll find out about that. What's happening to big tech corporate culture now that they're tightening the belt?
That's an interesting one.
Despite questions, so these are big, deep questions.
Any silly ones? A couple of silly ones, maybe as well.
I'm sure there'll be silly ones. All right. Thank you, folks.